All right, we're on air. It is Thursday, April 4th, and this is a meeting to check in on active development tests for Backdrop CMS. Starting at the top of our agenda, we are working on updating backdropcms.org. We want to put some information about Drupal 7 upgrades onto the homepage. We also had some good ideas in the outreach meeting about writing a blog post about upgrade versus migrate, linking that, and also updating our documentation on upgrading. We also know we're making some changes to the module themes and layout pages. That's issue number 442. No movement on that lately. Homepage demo button. Last week we mentioned that we thought a new version of PHP might solve our problems, but it did not. So we need to figure out what the underlying issue is. And in particular, it seems like it worked before and then it stopped working. And I don't know if that was something that changed on Tugboat's end or something that changed on our end. We should try and figure out what that was. That might be something we can talk about next week at DrupalCon, Nate, if you know anyone on the Tugboat team who's there.
Yeah, it broke at a very specific point when I regenerated the authorization token. And the authorization token works from the command line and everything like that. So I'm a little bit befuddled. But now that I've seen that it fails, well, I don't know. It's even more weird that it works for me on my local copy of backdropcms.org too. So
does it work from the command line on the new server?
Yeah, that works from the command line on the old server too. So yeah, I know. It's so strange. So, but it definitely was related to that because it stopped working right at that time.
Do you think there's something that changed on Tugboat's end between when we generated the first key and when we generated the second key that might cause this? Or is it definitely on our end?
It was definitely when I regenerated the key, like in a matter of minutes, it stops.
No, I know, but it had been a long time since you generated the first key, right?
Yes, that's
maybe
true.
There's something that happened on their end where they're like, just accept all the old keys, but new keys do something new, and then that's making it fail for some reason.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, anyway, I think it warrants a little bit more research on our end before we hassle them too much, because I'm pretty sure it's something that we did.
Okay. All right. We'd also mentioned in our outreach meeting that I have an event on April 20th and Gregory has an event on April 22nd where we would like to use the sandboxes. It would be possible to get that resolved in the next week and a half. That would be amazing. Okay, moving on. Forum site. It looks like we have a note here that maybe this will be the next site to move to the new server. I think that sounds good.
Yeah, Justin just joined. Hi.
Tim's not here to object. Justin's here. So the forum site is a good one because it's not super important. It's not as important as our API site, but it's the one that has the most authenticated traffic. So it's also would be a good test of the new server under slightly higher load before we move the main site. So I think it's a good one. We can also move the localization site probably at any time.
Yep.
Just something to note is that with the move to the new servers, we upgraded PHP to 7, but Nginx was downgraded to 1.10 from 1.14 something.
Huh.
Just to mention that you might need to upgrade that, but I don't know what we lost in features or performance along the way with that, because it's like 4 versions back and it goes back to 2016.
Huh. It's an interesting regression. I wouldn't have guessed that would happen.
So yeah, because Debian sort of like has a very thorough, I guess, process of accepting new packages and just getting new builds out.
Huh. I don't see that as being a problem. I mean, I don't know very much about different versions of Nginx, but I feel like if there was a problem, we probably would have known about it before now. I don't know. I had another thought too. What was it? Lost it. Oh, we should add emoji support.
Oh, yeah.
My SQL version was too old.
Yeah, we should definitely do that.
Especially for the forum site, because that's where people are going to use it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, well, let's try to get the forum site moved over as soon as possible. We did last week's migration on Thursday, like, you know, later this evening. I'm like super stressed out with things though, so I don't think I'd like to do that before DrupalCon, unfortunately.
Can I do your job?
Yeah, which it wasn't very much. It basically
oh, I don't have DNS access.
Yeah, we could get you that access though.
Okay.
That's actually, I mean, I can do that part. That's really easy. It's validating and making sure things are working and that sort of thing. So
I can do that part.
yeah, and so you can do all of that just by pointing your etc hosts file at the new domain name and then checking all of it.
Okay.
So last time that we updated CK Editor, and this is related, there were two features, but now it slipped my mind like which one it was. Support for like mentions, or emojis, or both. Something like a plugin that allows that in CK Editor. Anyways, it's worth exploring, but that's available. I don't know what we have to do with the integration to make it possible, but yeah.
Okay.
There's already a plugin for that, or you're just saying it would be nice if we did have a plugin for that?
There is a Drupal module for that, and I think it has a backed up version already. It's called Mentions, I think, where basically you mention someone in a comment and it'll send them an email, a notification, unless they have
and also if you put it on a comment, then it sort of like creates a link to that user's profile or something like that. But yeah, it was my impression that when I was doing the upgrade for CK Editor, I went through the list of changes and I saw either that or emojis being added. Yeah, I don't remember now. I have to look into it again. There were a few minor versions of CK Editor, by the way. The only things that changed was languages added and then just small things, but we might need to do. I'll file another ticket for that.
Yeah, CK Editor being able to actually type real emojis, that would be really cool. Like
there's an emoji keyboard with like a button that like pops open a thing and you can like.
Yeah, that plus the like if you use the colon key, you know how you can colon and then type smiley, you know, in Slack or Gitter or GitHub. Yeah, that would be useful.
I'm sure that exists.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably a matter of time before that becomes operating system level stuff, though.
Yeah.
We still need keyboard emoji keys, like non-visual ones.
Yeah. MacBook Pros aside, like I'm sure that will become an operating system level thing. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe that'd be really annoying if emojis started popping up like everywhere, like in your
colon.
Yeah, in your text editors. Like maybe that wouldn't be very cool.
My PHP can't process my emoji.
Actually,
my daughter is 8 and she loves it. She loves it.
Yeah, it's actually been tested and proven that you can have a module whose name is an emoji. So and hooks and everything work in PHP. So you can have like hook poop and hook smiley and hook like it's so ridiculous. I can't believe it actually works. Like module invoke all poop. Totally works. It's okay, sorry. That's probably not what we need to mention on a weekly meeting. So, okay. Anyway, let's also mention the API site, which the API site did get cut over. I don't think we said that quite yet, but there hasn't been any problems that I've seen. Has anybody else encountered any issues with the API site in the last week?
I've been using it and I forgot that it was on the new server. And then when I saw that in the thing today, I'm like, oh, that's great, because I didn't even notice. So it's like perfect that it's unnoticeably different. That's great.
Super duper.
Might even be faster, but I wasn't paying attention. So
yeah.
Okay. So should I start going over the issues for 112? Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we usually go over the 112 or the current minor versions, bug fixes that we're currently prioritizing, and we've got a bunch of them that have seen some progress this past week. The CK editor, hang on, I'm getting a little echo. I'm gonna mute you guys. Okay. So in 112.6, the CK editor icons have been broken in the RTL right to left languages for quite a while. And 3504, the margin issue that we've been experiencing has been fixed finally, and it looks like we're now ready for review. Thank you, both Jen and Gregory for knocking that one back and forth to get that one fixed. Supporting multiple equivalent security releases, issue 3524. There's still no code to back this one up yet. There was a question in the issue about where the code should live. Yes, it should be in project module. So that probably means we'll need to update project module, which lives in contrib, and then deploy the new project module onto backdropcms.org. There's been a fatal error if you have options element installed in backdrop 111 and then upgrade to 112 because options element was merged into core. The same function names are present in both options module and an options element module, and it causes, same function is already declared error, which I think crashes everything. We found out in that issue, thanks to some experimentation, that using the backdrop merged modules function, that will circumvent the problem of loading options element module after it's been merged into core, which is awesome. So that issue has been marked RTBC. Nice, clean solution there, and I'm glad to see that coming together. Layout clone breaks of both layouts, issue 2673. This issue is a big problem, and there's a pull request that fixes it, but we need tests to confirm that the problem is solved and we won't encounter regressions in the future. There's already a lot of layout tests. I don't think this is actually a very difficult one to test for. There's no JavaScript involved or anything like that. It's just doing the same thing as you would do in the UI and making sure that the layouts still function. But that one's been held up on tests for quite a while, unfortunately. I did get to add our new tag for needs tests to that issue, though, which made me happy. Missing contextual links for views, issue 2690. If you've got a page-based, a view that defines a page callback, the contextual link for editing that view gets stuck underneath the administration toolbar. There's a pull request for fixing that. It currently needs review. It just changes where the contextual link shows up so that it's in a location that doesn't get covered up by the admin bar. It's a good fix. I think that if we get some additional eyeballs on that confirming that it doesn't cause any regressions, then that can be moved in. And lastly, core updates occasionally can fail due to a missing type property in .info files of profiles. That's issue 3553. And that one is currently RTBC, and it just goes through and adds type to all of the profiles that are in core. So those are the issues that we've got for 112.6 that are prioritized. All of them have been seeing some progress, which is great. And yeah, once we have this together, Gregory, I know you last mentioned after we get those done, we should make a release because.
Yeah. There's another notable mention. Ticket that was filed by Vasas A Tila 3649. He was trying to port navbar, I think, to Backdrop, and then I think that we are calling admin bar suppress function within. So we haven't accounted for the fact that the admin bar module can be disabled. So yeah, there's a very simple solution to that. Just wrap the function and around the module exists, but we need to call that from, I don't know, system or something, or commenting. I have added some comments there about possible solutions. I would like some direction of where this function should be added.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe just what you have already might just be sufficient, where we just check if the module exists first before we call that function.
Yeah, but I think that we sort of like we solve that issue on a basis that way, or for specific things, like or the color module, whereas other contrib or custom modules might want to suppress the admin bar, so we shouldn't be calling the admin bar suppress thing function directly. Maybe we should have something like a backdrop admin bar suppress, which is called from system module, which ensures that because system module is always enabled.
Yeah, no, I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think that checking if the module exists is our kind of de facto solution for modules that are optional. Like we do this kind of thing, like if module exists comment, like if comment module exists, like all over node module. And if module exists, let's see, what's another good example? We do if module exists translation very frequently to see like if translation is available and if module exists locale. So I think that this is just our standard approach. If you need to call a function that's within an optional module, you should call if module exists first.
Okay, cool. I'll file a pull request so that it can be included because it's a very simple, straightforward solution.
Yep. Yeah, so that's a failure on our side. And if contrib falls into the same pit, then that's a problem that they should use the same, like you should do that before calling any optional modules functions.
Okay, cool.
Okay, let's see. Next up is issues for 1.13. 1.13 will be coming out May 15th, which is coming up really soon. May 1st is going to be our feature freeze, as always. So some of these are probably at risk. We'll go through them. Add back field formatters, issue 1376, currently needs testing and code review. Needs testing. It might actually need tests itself. Oh, no. HerbTool has thrown on some tests, but I don't think that he's pushed the tests to the pull request yet. So there are tests available that we could potentially swipe from the contrib module, but I don't think that they actually include the tests themselves quite yet. Let me see. Oh, it does. Nice. Okay, great. So that one's in a really good place then. It actually has tests. It probably literally just needs manual testing plus code review. Issue 1376, add back field formatters. Issue 495, the dashboard, currently is in similar place, needs testing / needs tests. Jen, is there anything you'd like to say about dashboard module?
No, I'm going to look at Gregory's changes later today. Okay.
Let's see. Adding translatable strings to core config files, issue 3455. It says here in the agenda no PR yet, but there is a PR for this. Yeah, actually, HerbTool posted this right after you said there's no pull request. He says there is one. So this issue of adding translatable strings to config files is something that we can iterate on progressively throughout releases. So any start that we have to start adding these translatable strings to config files, we should just start adding them as we get them complete. So this issue has been hung up and needs review for quite some time. HerbTool filed it a couple of months ago, actually. So this is pending some eyeballs to look at it and give it the thumbs up. And then once that's done, like there's lots of other core modules that all need to have their config files updated to list. They're translatable strings as well. So the first pull request is just the initial one that does it for a few of the basic ones in system module. Let's see, package signing issue 1992. I haven't taken a look at this recently, but I think this one is likely, yeah, likely not going to be going anywhere very soon. There's a lot to review there. And it is only a nice to have. It increases the security of packages as they're downloaded from GitHub to make sure that they have been packaged by backdropcms.org. So we still have some more work to do there. Let's see, telemetry issue 285. This has been one that we pulled up as kind of like, yes, we definitely should do that this release. And then we're all like, yes, we should do it again. And then, yeah, there hasn't been anything done on it yet. So
I just added a comment in the queue there where I think even though there's nothing yet, like I don't think we should add any of the new functionality, like new reporting between now and the next release. But what we can do is pull out the current reporting and put it to its own module. So if we wanted to make progress on it, I think we could still take the first step. This is another thing we can go in like baby steps where it's like, first we want to make a module, and then second, we want to add a bunch of stuff to it. So I don't know if you think all that stuff has to get done at once, or if you think it would be okay to like do the cleanup stuff first and then the new stuff later.
Interesting. I think it depends on how we want to handle when we add additional information that we're collecting, because when we ask the person for permission, the site owner for permission, saying, do you want to send additional information to backdropcms.org? If we tell them what that list is, or let them see what that list is, we probably shouldn't blindly just be adding more stuff later without telling them again that we're now collecting more information than we were previously. I don't know.
There's no problem in adding a info message, especially if we have the dashboard in. It could be a notification thing in the dashboard and saying, this is what's new, or please review what has changed and re-opt in or opt out.
Yeah. Interesting. We need some kind of, right now the dashboard doesn't have any kind of like notification system though.
The idea was
notification anywhere.
The idea was that the dashboard could be used for news updates and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Even see how we talked about cutting out a release candidate, or just so that we can give people more sort of like a chance to test what's coming up. So the dashboard thing could have been a great opportunity to sort of like communicate that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Maybe I'm thinking about a problem that might not be too big of a deal. So anyway, Jen, it's not a bad. Yeah, if we can get to that point of like just creating the telemetry module and moving update module stuff into telemetry, yeah, that would be great. It still will require, the API part of, or maybe it would require the API part of the receiving end on backdropcms.org. I'm not quite sure.
So if we don't touch that, what was the plan? What was the thought there? Then just move functions that have to do with, so that means renaming the functions, and we would have to put wrapper functions in place so that we...
Maybe, I'm not sure what all is in there now, but I was going to take a look at it and see. Okay,
cool. It's interesting. I am for the idea of just baby steps, just iterating.
Yeah, something that has been challenging me with this telemetry initiative is that separating out project usage from project module could be challenging and not really provide us much benefit. Like project module already is collecting its own usage statistics, and then it's integrated directly into project module on backdropcms.org via the usage charts. And so that functionality is still useful, and it literally is on a per project basis rather than if a module includes like 4 submodules, yeah, you don't know which of those 4 submodules is turned on, but from the project module standpoint, I mean, you just care about the overall usage of the base module, usually, like to see how many times your module has been installed, the entire project has been installed. And further granularity than that, sure, that can be part of telemetry module, but actually tracking the usage potentially should remain in project module. So maybe as far as project module, like suppressing the ability to be tracked, but maintain the ability to update, we should leave that entire API alone and by itself and just keep it working as it is, but add a query string option just to suppress the tracking. So rather than moving any of the APIs around project module, just leave it all there, but have the ability to disable the tracking.
Yeah, and then just add a new module that tracks stuff that doesn't go into the project database.
Yeah, exactly. Something completely separate, so that we don't end up with a project module. Like project module is already a huge hassle for us every time we need to make any changes.
Yeah. Okay.
So
it's a good idea.
Yeah, and telemetry, because telemetry we're talking about this being like Backdrop CMS specific, like the receiving end of that API probably doesn't need to live in Contrib. You know, it could just be part of backdropcms.org, and that would streamline our development processes whenever we need to collect additional information.
Okay.
With that concern of getting the minimal thing, because now we will be giving people the option to sort of like disable any statistics that they provide to us, and this is useful to us, and I understand how this can be a problem. Instead of have an everything or nothing, we could have a very minimal thing, the thing that we're doing now, as in, yeah, this is the type of information that we would ideally want, which would be all, but if you're too sort of like cautious about what is being sent out, at the very least, just send this information. So, yeah, have people say send very minimal information, or help us out gather more data. But this could be, as I said, iteratively. Like, let's build the basic thing now, so it's like we have a base to start off of, and then we can improve.
Well, I think there might be a way that we can set the current stuff that we're sending to be like anonymous by default and always send. And then as soon as they enable the telemetry module, we remove the query string that made that anonymous, and then we give them an option, right? So it's like, do you want to send us more information? And if they want to be public and, you know, be
my idea was that everything would be anonymous anyways.
Yeah, it already is anonymous.
No, and there's like IP addresses and stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean, the IP addresses are only kept for the purposes of making sure that it's the same site, and they're discarded after 2 weeks. So, I mean, you're right that it's not fully anonymous, but we can't make it fully anonymous and have it actually be accurate tracking. Like, we have to keep track of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, we can figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's. That's all that I've gotten for the 113 milestone. Some of them field formatters, dashboard, some translatable strings are in good places. Telemetry, package signing, not so good. So I think we'll probably end up seeing some of these things on the chopping block here in the next couple of weeks. But chopping block just for the next release.
With the DrupalCon coming up, it might be sort of like too ambitious to train for a bug fix release. But do you think after the week after that?
Yeah, I've got a lot of headspace in DrupalCon as Lullabot's sending everybody in the company there, and there's a number of events that are happening. But after, let's see, what would that be? After April 12th, that's only a 2.5 week window, but then Backdrop will be my focus for those couple of weeks. So we can make a bug fix release at that time.
Yeah, and we can iron out all the issues that are sort of like almost there by then.
Yep. Assuming that there hasn't been another security release between now and then.
I noticed that during the previous security release, we snuck some bug fixes as well in there. Whereas my impression was that security releases are solely sort of like the purpose of the security release. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, they're not. The security releases include everything that we've been including into the bug fix branch up until that point. Like, yeah, that hasn't been that's the way we've always proceeded. But sometimes it just happens that nothing has changed between the last release and the security release. But for the most part, yeah, anything that's in the bug fix branch goes out at the same time as the security release.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else that you guys would like to mention or talk about?
One thing that we mentioned during the previous meeting and deserves to be discussed here rather than that one is we have now Drupal that has been working. We have a use case which is having a contrib module that has its own repository because they want to maintain separate branches for D7, D8, and Backdrop versions. But because that repo is not part of Backdrop contrib, then that module, the respective Backdrop version of the module, cannot show up in the project browser. So Jen mentioned that there might be some feature in GitHub that allows you to clone a repo and then keep it in sync. Yeah, we need, if that doesn't work, we need to figure out a way to allow contrib maintainers to keep their own repo, but at the same time have the respective version of Backdrop module, theme, or layout be shown in project browser. I don't know how we're going to do that, but
yeah, sorry, I missed. Why do they need their own copy that's separate from the Backdrop contributor?
So in this specific, this specific example, is a repo of the European Commission, and that they're managing the Atomium theme, and they would like, I guess, they have more people than just a single maintainer looking after, I guess, the theme, the repo. The D7 version is actively maintained, the D8 is being worked on, and the Backdrop version has just been ported. So I guess that the European Commission would like to retain ownership of that repo.
Well, don't they need to do the same thing to be listed on Drupal.org? They have to push into Drupal's Git repository, right?
I'm not sure how it's done.
Yeah, I think that's actually kind of fine. If they want to manage their issue queue separately, they could possibly do that. Maintain a mirror, basically. But when it comes to actually cutting a release and pushing it up to backdropcms.org, I think they do need to have that be in the Backdrop contrib repository, because if we need to, like per our policy, if we need to do a security release, we need to have the ability to modify the code that is delivered through Backdrop to our users. So they kind of have to have it in that group. But you're right that they could use some kind of mirroring functionality, but they could hook that up on their side, that when you push to their mirror, they could have a hook set up, a webhook set up to just push it to the copy that's on the Backdrop controller as well. But I think they can do that without any intervention on our part. So
in this case, though, we need to document, because so far we have been documenting how to move your repository to Backdrop contrib. We don't have any instructions for people to create a clone of their repo, retain the original one, and create a clone in Backdrop contrib, so that, Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have any instructions for that because it's kind of, I'm not even sure we really want to encourage that, but it would be possible.
So we'll treat it sort of like per case, like even in this situation, if Paul comes to us and says, okay, I want to do that, how do I do it? Do we treat it like that? We let people just ask the question and then we guide them how to do it? And then even if so, if I was to help them out, I would still like to point them to instructions.
Yeah. I mean, I think instructions are fine, but I think I'm saying that I'm not sure that it should be official, you know?
Okay.
So this might
Yeah.
sound really strange, but it's like, well, if you want to make instructions, then put them someplace else. You know?
Fair enough. I understand what you're saying now. Yeah.
You probably
If you have
you probably even could find existing instructions, like how to mirror something on GitHub. You know, 'cause there are probably already instructions for like how to mirror something between GitLab and GitHub, how to mirror something between two GitHub repositories. I'm sure that there's already a tutorial out there that's been written that covers this use case.
Well, I tried to do some research, but I couldn't find anything automated. Everything was mentioned that, yeah, when you're developing on your local, just push to both remotes, which is, yeah.
Yeah.
Not,
that would work.
Yeah, if it's a one-man show, yeah, it would work, but still, yeah, it's in the case of this specific repo that is people from the European Commission managing it, I guess there's more than one person. Anyways, we'll figure it out.
Okay, Justin, did you want to say something?
Yeah. Well, sorry, you cut out for a second.
Oh, well, what is it that you wanted to add?
Me?
Yeah, I saw you unmute earlier, so I thought that maybe you wanted to say something.
Oh, I thought I was going to say goodbye.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, let's end it on that then. All right, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you guys joining the meeting and everybody out there watching. So thanks again for all of the work that's been happening in IssueQ, and we'll see you guys online.
Okay.
Yep. See ya.
Everybody.
Bye.